Yeah. So hi guys, welcome back to Tradfi and Bitcoin Club. So we will be discussing and deep diving today more into Metaplanet, the Japanese MicroStrategy, and also the best performing stock in the whole world in the year 2024. So yeah. So let me just brief you about the background of Metaplanet first. So Metaplanet was previously known as a Red Planet. So basically, they were a hotel operator company. Uh, so they were managing chains of hotels, and COVID-19 happened, and the whole business was, I mean, gone into bust, and nothing was happening. So around that time, their CEO Simon Garovich. So he was having a decent exposure to Bitcoin. Um, he he had invested in Bitcoin in 2012 in Mount Gox. So you guys might be aware of the scam or the hack which happened in Mount Gox, and the investors were left with nothing. I mean, I think there's some repayment to holders of Mount Gox now, but I am not aware of the situation, like how much percentage are they getting back, or like what's happening. But yeah, so he was one of the early investors in Bitcoin space, but in 2019, COVID hit and the hotel business was essentially shut down, or I mean, not shut down, but it was not working. So he he started listening to Michael Saylor and Bitcoin podcast just like us. So yeah, after listening, he came to a point where Saylor concluded that cash on the balance sheet is not worth anything excess of working capital. That cash should be invested in Bitcoin. So around I think 2020 April of 2024, company made a plan and renamed and rebranded themselves from Red Planet to Metaplanet. So they pivoted from the hotel business to Bitcoin treasury business and started to acquire Bitcoin in their treasuries. So on 8th April, Metaplanet announced that it was adopting Bitcoin as its core treasury reserve asset, and subsequently on 13th May 2024, the company released its Bitcoin manifesto, outlining its long-term conviction in Bitcoin as the foundation of for a new corporate treasury model. So since then, Metaplanet is acquiring Bitcoin like crazy, and yeah, I mean they are one of the most or the highest. Uh, I mean, Bitcoin yielding. They are turning out to be giving the highest Bitcoin yield giving treasury company. So yeah, it's basically because of the smaller base. So they have a small base. So in percentage terms, if you see, the yield is much better. And also they have some good things as compared to MicroStrategy, as in me, Bala, and Amol were talking about, like uh, their Bitcoin are shown publicly on the mempool. So yeah, every Bitcoin which they buy, we can see here on mempool directly. So transparency is more um, as compared to MicroStrategy. So yeah, Bala, Bala is joined, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bala, can you add in like how are they? like they are following zero knowledge proofs here, or like what are these guys doing? Do you have any idea?
So this is not zero knowledge proof. They have published their address. So there
Okay,
is nothing to hide here. So everything is quite transparent.
okay,
The
sure.
problem with this is if they move anything anywhere, people would have already programmed bots to monitor this and probably tweet out stuffs if anything moved in this.
Okay, okay, sure. So for example, currently they are having, I think, 5,000 bitcoins. So if even single bitcoin is stolen or hacked, then it will be reflected here, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we will get to know about the hack or anything
Stolen
which.
hack, even if they move intentionally. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great. So yeah, this is one thing which I personally liked. Also, there might be some risk as they are making their address public and some phishing or some kind of attack. I'm not sure like how the hackers might use it, but from the transparency point of view, I think it makes sense. And yeah, if anybody wants to add a point, uh, they can add. If Bala, if you want to add something like how hackers can use the addresses and maybe do something fishy, if you if
Maybe
you
I
want.
can add a bit there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
so this is good actually. This is more in line with. I don't know if you guys remember when FTX went down. CZ
Yeah.
Binance came out with proof of reserves, right? Which is, I think, this is more in line with the crypto ethos, the cypherpunk ethos, which is basically this is the benefit of having a reserve asset or asset like this, right? You can actually provide transparency. This is much harder to provide through other means, right? Like even with gold and stuff, you can't quite verify its purity and so on, right? In
Mm.
some sense, providing this kind of proof of reserves is probably one of the good use cases of blockchain and Bitcoin and so on. I wonder why MicroStrategy is not following this. If they're a Bitcoin treasury company, at some point, people might start expecting this from MicroStrategy as well, since you have other players doing it.
People are already expecting, even we are expecting.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, why not, right?
Yeah, yeah, why not?
If exchanges are expected to show reserves, if banks are expected to show reserves, this is Bitcoin world, right? This is not even Bitcoin world. So why
Yeah,
not in
yeah,
Bitcoin world, right?
yeah. I when I was some like when I was researching about it, I came to around like Bala only said that there might be some risks if
Yeah.
they.
The threat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go on, Bala.
Yeah. With respect to Metaplanet strategy, I'm sure they might have a robust key management system behind their addresses. So I think they would have taken sufficient care. But as we saw with the exchange hack that happened recently, no amount of security is absolute, so they'll have to constantly keep reviewing it. And I think Sailor is uh, also a bit worried, or he's like I don't know what is the setup with Meta in Japan. Does Japanese law allow them to custody their Bitcoin themselves, or do they have to necessarily use a custodian? What is the law in Japan? I'm not sure. But in US, I don't think Taylor can himself hold it. So he has to necessarily use a custodian because MSTR is a public company, and any like proof of reserves should also come like Coinbase. Coinbase is the one that should provide the proof of reserves, and I don't think they are ready to
Provide proof of
I
reserves.
don't think they are ready to think they're ready to be
Bala, your voice is, I mean,
as transparent, and I don't think they have sailors coin of it isolated. Is
your
it better
voice,
now?
your voice is cutting in between.
Okay, is it better now?
Somewhat better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the proof of reserve for MSTR, I think it has more to do with regulations in the US, where sailor himself cannot self custody the coins, his assets. So he has to have a custodian, and I think Coinbase has a different model, and they don't uh, have separate addresses for each of their clients. I don't think so. So it has to they have to work things out and come up with some mechanism for showing the proof of reserves.
Yeah. While I was doing some research on Metaplanet, I came around this question. And there's a community on X as well as on Discord. So the community name is Mad About Metaplanet in Twitter or X, whatever you call it. And in Discord, it's I think, yeah, this one, Metaplanet Dojo. So yeah. So in this community, I asked the question, and this community is pretty open. Even we have access to their CEO Simon Garovich and the basically the person who handles Bitcoin strategy at Metaplanet, Dylan Leclerc. So they are available in that Discord group. So I posted a question around it, but till now I have not got the answer about the question, like what's the law in Japan? Like they require a custodian, or are they doing self custody? Like how are they doing things? So yeah, I have not got the answer for that question, but uh, some people in the community called it like if they have made their addresses public. So yeah, I mean it's uh, it's 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 good for us. Like it's not a case as as in with MSTR or other treasury companies in the US. So as we have their addresses public, so we have some transparency. So yeah, but as far as legal things are concerned, I have no idea right now. But yeah, I will do more research and get things figured out. So okay, let's move into the chart. Business overview. So currently, they are a Bitcoin treasury company which acquires and manages Bitcoin, leverages capital markets. Goal is to maximize Bitcoin holdings per share (BPS). Also, they have like they are running hotel business. They have kept only one hotel right now. Like just to me, I will show you the hotel which they have. Yeah, this one. So as a MicroStrategy has the strategy Bitcoin hub, they are looking something similar. So this one, yeah, the Royal Oak Gotanda in Tokyo. So they are converting this hotel into Bitcoin hotel, and this will be a place to Japanese Bitcoiners to come attend workshop, events, and programs, and network together. Basically, it is like some kind of similar to the strategy hub as of MicroStrategy. They currently retain only this one hotel, and all other hotels have been sold out, and the proceedings have been converted into Bitcoin. So yeah, currently they have only one hotel. And the third thing is they are official partners of Bitcoin Magazine Japan. They have exclusive license to operate there in Japan. So I think I have covered history and transformation. Bitcoin holdings and target. So the target is pretty ambitious. They are Asia's largest public Bitcoin holder, currently ninth largest. As of now, they are holding 5,000 Bitcoin. This is old, around April. So currently they are holding 5,000 Bitcoin. Target by end of the year is 10,000, and end of the in 2026 the target is 21,000 Bitcoin. So 0.1% of whole supply. This is their target. So what is the Bitcoin acquisition strategy? Yeah. So these are the ways through which they are trying to raise their proceeds or capital to acquire more Bitcoin. So, as we know, ATM at the market issuance, which MicroStrategy does for MSTR. So, ATM is basically like they do shelf registration with the investment bank, or yeah, and it's a one-time thing, and after that they can issue shares directly in the secondary market. Uh, so in Japan, we don't they don't have anything similar to ATM. So they have re-engineered, or what we say, uh, back engineered ATM, which they call moving strike warrants. So moving strike warrants, for now, you can understand it as a Japanese ATM. The second is ordinary bonds. So as we all know, in Japan, the rates are close to zero. So they are issuing ordinary bonds. Operating income from Bitcoin hotel, from the they have one more strategy, like Bitcoin income generation strategy. So I will explain it about in a minute. So that is constituting a major part of their operating income. So basically, in the operating income strategy, what they are doing, they are selling uh, some options like put and calls. So what they are doing, they are raising money from moving strike warrants. Understand this as ATM, and when they raise the money from this, 5% of that amount is kept to for the income generation, Bitcoin income generation strategy. And from that strategy, they are like currently most of their revenue is from that strategy, the income generation strategy. And third thing, like a right issue was one of the things which they issued in the start, I guess. And preferred stock and convertible bonds are in the pipeline. So currently they don't have any, but yeah, they have plans to issue it. So combination of debt and equity, operating cash flow, and leverage Bitcoin proxy stock trades at a premium exposure without owning asset. So yeah, one more thing, like in Japan, if you hold Bitcoin and if you sell it at a profit, you have to pay around 50 or 55% of capital gains tax. So it's huge. And when you compare it with Metaplanet, it's like around 20 to 25%. So it's a good proxy to Japanese investors who are looking to have a Bitcoin exposure in their portfolio currently. So let's go and
Sorry, just wanted to check. So is it more friendly for equities than crypto and Bitcoin, or is it friendlier for
yeah,
Bitcoin in this?
it's more friendly for equities, like
Okay.
Bitcoin, for example. If you have 1 lakh yen invested in Bitcoin, and after a year it becomes 2 lakh yen. Then on that 1 lakh yen of profit, you have to pay 55% of tax. So basically, you are making only 45,000 yen as a profit. So in case of if you invest in Metaplanet, then only you have to pay 25% of capital gains.
Okay. Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
thing, right? This is what I believe. I mean, this is why I think a lot of these, you know, stocks are doing well, or finding a this is a tax arbitrage, right? Which I think the state will eventually close. So these kind of strategies are working now for these companies because people are buying it because one, it would be because it's an easier on ramp. You don't have to go through crypto ramps. You can go through equity ramps. You can buy it through your equity brokerage account. No additional effort to get on board, right? The other is tax advantage, tax arbitrage. But tax arbitrage, I personally believe state will eventually close it out, right? When you declare yourself as a Bitcoin treasury company, I'm sure it'll catch up to avoid that. I wonder how these companies will pivot or how they'll keep this going once those things. Right now, I do see reasons why people might want to buy these stocks. Can this go on as an ongoing thing? I have always had doubts about this. Uh,
Tax arbitrage is one of the great, points Japanese investors can
Even now,
consider.
right? Even for
Yeah.
me in India, right now, the Bitcoin I buy, I've been the ones that I bought in UK, I have self-custodied. The ones that I buy right now, I am actually buying it through buying IBIT uh, or Coinbase as proxy because they are traded as US ETFs and US equity. And while a standalone Bitcoin or self-custodied Bitcoin is treated as crypto, right, and taxed much more severely than this. So there is still a reason or most cost-effective way for me to buy it is through the ETF on ramps and so on. But over time, I think these government regulations will catch up. They're still treating it as US equity because they haven't quite defined the clause yet in India. Let's say at some point, they'll change that, right? And then over time, people will have fewer and fewer reasons to actually buy these companies. Uh, but unless they are selling something else, right? Like MicroStrategy is selling volatility, so there is still a reason for people to buy it. But slowly, what I'm noticing is, as you see nowadays, these things are becoming into ETFs, right? These income generation strategies are basically volatility, capture that MicroStrategy is trying to do with its convertible bond issuance,
Yeah.
and that is now being offered to people retail as ETFs if they want to get into. So now it's not even limited to just the hedge funds, right? So these things are getting commoditized over time, and I don't know how these companies will this company has a hotel wherein they're looking to build a business out of Bitcoin. So it's interesting at least in that sense. But a lot of other companies don't have any. Even in this case, it's just retaining one hotel really. But it's still an interesting experiment, right?
Yeah, to your point, Vinay, I'm audible, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
To your point of tax arbitrage, that's a good thing. No, that's inducing competition between those jurisdictions. So eventually, the jurisdictions which favor Bitcoin companies,
No,
registration,
it's good. It's not
treasury.
a bad thing at all. In fact, yeah, GetBit, where you work, I guess, is at a disadvantage right now because you're taxed more severely for self-custodying Bitcoin.
No, but that's different from a no. GetBit is not like that's not important for in the regulations is for holders of Bitcoin. It's not for Bitcoin companies. Currently, JetKing is the only company which is a public company holding Bitcoin on its balance sheet. So the tax treatment is the same for individuals and companies. I know, but yeah, I was just curious that to your point of how tax arbitrage, you said that governments will eventually catch up, and for that, at least my assumption is that catching up will mean that more and more governments will want to attract Bitcoin companies registering in their jurisdiction. Yeah, it's bad
No,
in
no.
India. I
So,
know, 100%, 100%. It's bad in India, but even in the medium, like short to medium range, maybe in 3 to 5 years, we will see more and more jurisdictions opening up to more public Bitcoin companies. This is at least my
yeah,
hunch.
no. When I mean tax arbitrage is like, let's say within India, Bitcoin ETF is actually taxed differently than spot or holding Bitcoin directly.
He is talking
self-custody
from
Bitcoin.
a individual investor perspective, like
Yeah,
from
and even within India, there will be convergence. Government will eventually either hike up the taxing on IBIT or Bitcoin ETF and bring it in line with spot Bitcoin or self custody Bitcoin, or they'll reduce the tax on self custody Bitcoin to basically match up, right? Because
Right.
uh, that's what they'll do, and that's not a bad thing at all. That is what they should do, right? There shouldn't be someone shouldn't be disadvantaged to hold self custody Bitcoin, or someone. It's essentially people are walking through it because things have not been defined there yet. It's so new, and it's just
Right.
a matter of time. It'll probably take them next calendar year, maybe next tax year. They might just get that right, and that is how each countries will operate. But then, like cross border, I think there are bigger things, right? Eventually, I think they'll try to come up with a global tax, crypto law tax policy, just like how they think about doing it, uh, like how they're thinking about taxing big tech, right? With a global tax based on a number of users or something like that, worldwide thing. So there'll be some kind of global tax policy, but what I'm saying is arbitraging within the country also, these things will come down. And people will have less incentive to basically buy equity instead of a Bitcoin ETF or just self custody Bitcoin. Right now, these securities are in demand, or people are buying into it because that is kind of an on ramp. It's tax beneficial way to get exposure to Bitcoin. And when that proposition ends, I don't quite know how these companies will still find value.
Right. Makes
so.
sense. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let
Just
me
one
let
one
me
one
yeah
quick
yeah
question. Digant, if it's okay. Yeah.
yeah
There's
yeah
just
go
one
on.
question. Why do you think Bitcoin ETF will be treated differently to other ETFs? Why do you think it will be taxed same as Bitcoin with retail?
So
Yeah.
right now, what is happening in India, let's say, is Bitcoin ETF is treated like a US stock or a US ETF. Okay, so you are only taxed, or the long-term capital gains tax on it, I think, is 12.5% or 20% or something like that. One of the two.
12.5%.
However, yeah, 12.5% on for a long-term hold, 2 years holding period.
Yeah,
However, if it's self-custody Bitcoin that you're basically buying and selling, right? I think there's no idea of a long-term capital gains tax on it. It's treated
Yeah.
always as short-term,
Yes.
and it's always taxed at, I think, your
Yes.
income or 30%, right?
Yes.
flat 30%.
Yes. As long as it's over 10,000 rupees, it's 30% flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's huge, right? 12.5 to 30, right, for a long-term holding. And most buyers of Bitcoin, I believe, should be buying it for long-term because I don't think it's a trading asset. Uh, So let's assume I buy something and hold for 2 years here, and I buy something and hold for 2 years. 12.5 versus 30 is massive, right? People have so little incentive, or people are really disincentivized to go buy self custody their Bitcoin. Of course, you can go the peer-to-peer route. All that is a bit of a roundabout thing, right? You can, there are. Then it'll also come down to how you're buying your Bitcoin, how your money is, and all that, right? But let's say for a clean and square guy, it's quite
Yeah.
not. Yeah, assuming, I
Mhm.
mean, considering you might have to sell at some point, right, to live off it, because that is, I mean, I don't earn an income, right? So I'm always thinking I have to live off selling a bit sometimes, and then whatever. If I don't have a steady income, but I do have an income which comes once in a while, maybe a trading profit here and there, though I don't really trade a lot. But just to say, maybe
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So
Thank you.
yeah, tax arbitrage is one of the things which I initially invested in MicroStrategy, and the second thing which I would like to I would like to tell you guys is Bitcoin yield. For example, when I invested for a hypothetical case scenario, if I invested in MSTR and I got Bitcoin exposure of 1 Bitcoin. Let's take this case in Metaplanet's example. Like they are targeting 35% of Bitcoin yield in each quarter. So let's say I invested one BTC exposure in Metaplanet. After the first quarter, I will end up at 1.35. After the second quarter, I will end up at 1.8225. After the third quarter, I will end up at 2.46. And after the fourth quarter, I will end up at 3.32 Bitcoins. So Bitcoin yield will be the metric, or Bitcoin per share will be the thing because of which investors will continue investing in Bitcoin treasury companies. And basically, I see Bitcoin treasury company as a miner. Uh, I mean, if you buy a miner, then the break-even cost of that miner is around 12 months. So after 12 months, it depends on the electricity rates. Anything after that, the miner it generates anything over it, the Bitcoin is clearly your Bitcoin yield. So I see these treasury companies as this currently, and yeah, Bitcoin yield and Bitcoin per share, which is the thing investors currently care about. And uh, basically, they I see, and investors who invest in these Bitcoin treasury companies see it like this: like Bitcoin is savings, Bitcoin in self custody is savings. It's like your savings account, and anything which is outside of your self custody, you are taking a risk. So on that risk you need to be get compensated. So for example, I could have kept one Bitcoin in my self custodied wallet, but instead of keeping it there, I am taking risk and I am putting it into Metaplanet or MSTR or similar scientific. So why I am incentivized to do so? Because I am getting more Bitcoins eventually. So that is the reason why currently uh, I invest, or any investor invests in Bitcoin treasury companies. Also, tax arbitrage is one of the reasons why I started investing in MSTR. Yeah, but
And I have just
Bitcoin yield
one
and
basic
Bitcoin per
question.
share. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to understand Bitcoin yield. What exactly does it mean? Can you give a high level, quick definition?
yeah. So Bitcoin yield is the percentage change period to period of the ratio between Bitcoin holdings and fully diluted shares outstanding. So basically, it's three Shreyan. Like, for example, you have one Bitcoin in your self-custodied wallet, right?
Okay.
And another Bitcoin, you are like, you don't keep it in your self-custody and buy one Bitcoin worth of Metaplanet shares.
Okay.
So what they are doing by raising money, or by raising money through equity and debt, they are increasing Bitcoin per share through the time.
Right.
So what
Right.
is happening when you invested first? You had the price exposure of one Bitcoin, but after Q1, as you can see, as the target which they are targeting of 35% Bitcoin yield. So after Q1, you will have BTC exposure of 1.35.
Hmm.
Are you getting my point?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So this is the main reason why currently investors are investing in Bitcoin treasury company.
Hmm.
So if you have one Bitcoin in your self-custody wallet, it will remain one Bitcoin, like perpetuity in the future. Like, it won't change. But when
Right.
Bitcoin yield comes into the picture, your exposure to Bitcoin starts to go up.
Right. Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
So that is why I said, like, Bitcoin in the self-custody is savings, and Bitcoin in Bitcoin, like, we can't say Bitcoin, like, uh, the investment in Bitcoin treasury companies is an investment, and for that investment, you are demanding a rate of return. So that rate of return is basically Bitcoin yield, extra rate of return. So yeah, if this is clear, let's go back to the chart. I hope it's clear.
Yes, thank you, Digant.
Yeah.
Yeah, clear
So,
now.
yeah. Is somebody trying to speak? Okay. So let me go back to the chart. So Bitcoin income generation strategy. So what these guys are doing, they have launched this Bitcoin income generation strategy in Q4 of 2024. So they are basically monetizing Bitcoin's price volatility, selling Bitcoin put and call options, which lowers the risk than simply buying BTC. Allocate 5% of the fund raised. So let me uh, tell you, like, let me get into the case. So here in this research report, they have provided the Bitcoin income generation strategy. Yeah, here. So what these guys are doing? Yeah. So Metaplanet launched Bitcoin income generation strategy in Q4 of 2024. And in Q4, it generated a revenue of around 690 million yen and operating profit of 687 million yen. And in quarter one of 2025, they have reported around 720 million yen of revenue generating through this uh, Bitcoin income generation strategy. So this is something new which they are trying when we compare it to strategy and other Bitcoin treasury companies. So here's a case study. For example,
So,
if BTC,
can you repeat like what is it that they're doing differently? Like what is you just mentioned, right? They're doing something else apart from strategy.
yeah, Bitcoin income generation strategy. Like this is one more way of for them to generate some Bitcoin income. Like what strategy is doing, they are just raising money through equity and debt and putting directly it into Bitcoin. So what these Metaplanet guys are doing in, like, they are raising in through raising money via moving strike warrants and straight bonds, and keeping 5% of the total funds, like 95% of it goes directly into Bitcoin, but 5% of it goes into Bitcoin income generation strategy.
And what are those like Bitcoin income generation strategies? Like what do you mean by that?
Yeah, basically that I am trying to explain it here.
Okay.
Yeah. So what is a Bitcoin income generation strategy is like a case study. For example, if BTC price was 97,900, Metaplanet could sell $95,000 of put option and earn 5.5% of notional $5,421 of on each option sold. If Bitcoin is trading around above 95,000 at the end of the quarter, 28th March, the option would expire worthless with the 5.5% return becoming Metaplanet's revenue. If the price of Bitcoin is below 95,000, the put option is in the money and Metaplanet has to buy Bitcoin at the exercise price of 95,000 using the full USD collateral it set aside when the option was sold. It still earns 5.5% of the income. So, from Metaplanet's perspective, the strategy is beneficial in both scenarios. If the option expires worthless, the company earns premium income. If the options are exercised, it acquires Bitcoin at an effective discount while still retaining the premium received. Break even for the above trade is $95,000 minus 5,421 equal to 89,579. So Metaplanet does not believe selling put option is risky, as it would be buying Bitcoin anyway. So this is main point. Like put option becomes risky when you are doing it for trading purpose. But in case of Metaplanet, the goal is to buy Bitcoin. So eventually they will buy Bitcoin anyway, and it is better to sell a put option and receive a premium, buying Bitcoin at a lower price as the market falls, making it less risky than simply buying Bitcoin given the buffer provided by the option premium. At the end of the quarter, if Bitcoin falls and puts are exercised, Metaplanet acquires Bitcoin and adds it to its income generation fund. In that scenario, the company can shift to selling covered call options against the newly acquired Bitcoin, generating additional income from the same pool of assets. For example, in a scenario where the Bitcoin price had declined to $90,000, it would be able to sell $105,000 of strike price call options against its existing Bitcoin holdings, generating a revenue of 4,834. Metaplanet plans to disclose more, yeah. So currently, they just launched the Bitcoin income generation strategy. So this is basically like they are trying to get some premium by doing some calls and put strategies. So as in this case, they are in profit in both the scenarios. Like even if the price goes uh, above $97,000, they keep the premium of 5.55%. So that becomes the premium earned. And even if the price go below 95,000, they will buy the Bitcoin at $95,000 and uh, like settle the trade. Instead of buying 97 instead of buying it at 97,700, they are buying it at 95,000. So according to the strategy, uh, this is like on both sides they are okay to have this uh, this trade. Like eventually they will be buying Bitcoin. So anyway, the selling put option strategy is like not a risk for them. So this is basically their Bitcoin income generation strategy. I hope you guys got it. So uh, yeah. Anyone wants to add?
So they're generating this income. Basically, they're selling options to generate an income, right? And
Yeah,
they're going to use this to probably pay off bills and stuff like that, or reinvest. I don't know if, or are they going to distribute
yeah.
this as dividends?
It's their Bitcoin income generation strategy. They are
No, but did they mention anything about what the
reporting a
plan with
revenue
the?
out of that
Okay. So would they
and putting
do they
that
know?
revenue again into Bitcoin
No, I'm
afterwards.
wondering if they're going to distribute that as dividend.
Yeah.
Uh,
No,
and I don't know if that is attractive for Japanese investors. I don't know how
they
dividend
they
is.
are not they are not looking to give a dividend.
Okay.
Eventually they will buy Bitcoin with it directly of that income generated.
Yeah, because you know what I'm trying to get to, right? In some way, it will start performing
Yeah.
like for like an MSTY, which is MSTR's
Yeah.
yield generation
Yeah.
strategy, but
Mhm.
focused for another geography where rules are different, right? Or taxation is different and ramps are different and so on.
Yeah.
They're just trying to play the
So
MicroStrategy play, but for Japan.
yeah. So as you can see here, like uh, they're they are trying to generate a revenue model of this Bitcoin income generation strategy. So because of this Bitcoin income generation strategy, they are getting a profit, and on that profit, they are
There's a PE game, then there'll probably be a different PE game, right? Which will be in line with what Microsoft.
Metaplanet CEO also a public figure? I'm not aware.
so I I have planned to show one of his tweet. Just
Okay.
a minute. He's on X.
Team, right? Do you know which
Yeah,
capacity is he part of? Or I know that Dylan is a public figure and he's very popular and he's very good as well. Like overall in
he's
terms of Bitcoin education. Okay, I don't know him.
this is the CEO of Metaplanet, Simon Gerovich. So he's
Okay,
also a
okay.
public figure. He's on X.
And he's
So
Japanese, is it?
I'm not aware.
Okay, okay.
He might not be Japanese because the name doesn't seem to be Japanese.
True, true.
I think he's Australian. I have read somewhere he's an Australian
Okay.
guy who is
Okay, okay.
settled in Japan, I think.
Okay, okay.
Good,
One of your
good
voice is
quick way
breaking.
quick way to check would be how many bitcoins does Metaplanet own currently?
Metaplanet owns
5,000.
5,000 bitcoins.
5,000, no? So it's still very early, right? Like very small and
You
not,
can see it.
yeah, it's still pretty tiny, you know.
That's still small. I wouldn't call it small.
Yeah.
And
He's
compared to
comparing it with the other companies like
No, but you know what? Japan has scale, dude. Like Japan and Japan's banking, it's deep pockets. They're not the best performing economy now, but they've been gigantic since 80s, right? Like it's
yeah.
Okay.
If you look at it, Japanese banks are always of scale. They'll manage like in excess of $3 trillion in assets, and they're not profitable, so their market cap will be like nothing. Yeah, so it's there's that kind of stuff.
Right.
to that
He's
Vinay,
calling it small from
So
Saurabh,
to
your
be
voice
someone,
volume is really low. You might want to move closer to the mic. Saurabh?
oh, okay. Is this better now?
Yes, yes, much better.
yeah.
All right. So my question was like, you said there's an income generating strategy. So I'm going back there, and you said what is the income generating strategies is like they spent 5%, and rather than they spent 5%, which otherwise would have gone for just buying Bitcoin in buying put option. So what put option does is if the Bitcoin
Yeah.
prices fall, they
Correct.
get an option to load more Bitcoins.
Selling put option, not buying.
So they
Basically, the
sell put option.
5% they are keeping exchange as a collateral or something.
So they sell put option, which only Bitcoin holders can
You are
go for.
breaking. You are breaking, Saurabh.
Okay, ठीक है. Let
Your
me
voice
join.
is breaking.
Okay, let me join my phone.
Are you typing in the chat or like what?
Yeah. Hello. Is this better? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
So my question was like, when you are selling put option, you are taking a bet on Bitcoin that the Bitcoin prices will rise, right? Similar to buying call option. But the advantage that you have is uh, only someone who has Bitcoin in their kitty can sell put option. Am I right?
yes,
Hello.
yes, yes.
Okay. So, okay. So they're basically going doubly long on Bitcoin. One by just buying it, and one by just buying but just doing sell put option. Then the follow up question is how have they arrived at this number 5%? Like why not go 10%, 20%, 30%? What's the risk if they do it like more?
So maybe I'll take it. I don't know. Is hand up on or did someone drop off?
Hello.
Hello, I am audible.
Yeah, you're audible. You're audible.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's the question.
So maybe
Yeah.
I'll take that hand up. Let me just see if I can explain it well. So
Go
broadly,
on.
any income generation strategy, right, will involve selling options because that's the only way you're guaranteed an income, right? You pocket a premium. The other side is unhedged, and anybody who writes the option, what they do is they should be long that asset to write an option on that asset, be it a call or be it a put, right? Uh, and that's basically the income generation strategy. In return, what do you give up? One thing you would want to do because you're long that asset is to protect the downside. The other thing you want to do, other thing you will potentially give away in return for guaranteeing this income or this generation of income by selling options is Hey guys, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes,
I
here
think
is
Yeah. So the
yeah.
one thing that they will give up in return, where did I get cut